boo. Boo 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 boo. What's going on here? There it is. But doo ba ba da ba ba boo 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 boo. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime girl. Share. Share to the world. Mr. T is streaming. Blah, blah. Blah, blah. D, blah. What the hell? Boom, 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 boom. What up, y'all? Hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Like and subscribe. Whatever that was. Like and subscribe. Comment and share. Hit the like button everywhere. What is going on? Oh, there we go. We looking good now. We looking good. The stream health is looking good. Yep. What the? I don't. Oh, never mind. Never mind that. Move that to the side. Sure. That goes there. No. That's not what I'm. Thank you. Let's fix that. All right. So, I just wanted to get my impressions of the latest anniversary celebration streams for Sonic, for Dragon Quest, and thought I'd throw in, because I didn't think it would be that long. It's not gonna be that long anyway. Impressions of Horizon Forbidden West. And I'm also gonna do, because I got this question today on one of my videos, asking me about what I felt were the shortcomings of the Switch. Why did I think it was living up to its potential? And I was like, I never really made a video specifically about that. So at the end, I will also cover that. And then I'll cut it off and make it a standalone video for those who not care about this live stream here. So yeah. Let's get into it. You thought I was gonna say something else that would probably get me a copyright strike from Michael Buffer. Yeah. Ooh, that's it's very what do you call it? Very tangy. It's not what I was hoping for, but that'll be fun. All right. So, first on the docket is, let's get Dragon Quest out of the way. I think that was a short. I don't remember how long it was, but I'm a casual fan of Dragon Quest, being that I only really beat 2 games in the series, and I'm working on my third though, Dragon Quest 11. And for me, there wasn't a whole lot to go over. So Dragon Quest. So, 35th anniversary. So this is the thing about these damn anniversaries, though, is that they make a brother feel old. You start talking about 35 years of this, 30 years of that, and brothers start doing some reflection, some self-reflection, start realizing that getting kind of ancient, man, getting kind of old, man. Why you got to be talking about how long you've been doing stuff. I even start thinking about how long I've been doing YouTube videos, and it's kind of depressing, especially looking at my subscriber base and my viewership. All right, but yeah, so Dragon Quest 35th anniversary. I think they said it was going to be like 6 games, and pretty much right off the bat, 3 of them didn't matter. I don't say that. There was like some kind of kid, kind of offshoot game, kiddie-ish offshoot game with like erasers and whatnot, and I don't know. I couldn't really remember it. Then there was another one like Dragon Quest Treasure, like a treasure hunting type of game. It was another offshoot game. And then they announced, this is not in order, but I'm just trying to remember exactly what was going on. They announced, what was it? Oh yeah, Dragon Quest 10, which is online, like version 6 or something, and it's online only, and it's in Japan, I think only. So, people were anticipating maybe they'd open it up to the rest of the world, and that didn't happen. Basically, they dropped version 6, or they're talking about version 6. I don't know when it's coming out, but then they were like, not a worldwide release, and I'm like, so why didn't you share that separately with only the Japanese gamers? So you kind of boosted people up to think, oh, it's coming everywhere else, and then they don't do it. So kind of strange. And they did announce, this is at the end, I'll get to that first because I'll get to the thing I really liked. They announced Dragon Quest 12 coming. They didn't say when or any of that stuff. They just gave an announcement that, yeah, they're working on Dragon Quest 12. It was almost like a Metroid Prime type of situation where they showed a graphic. And actually, it was a little bit more than, probably about the same. Maybe a little bit more pizzazzy than Metroid Primes. But they showed that and let people know. And I started thinking about, because they showed Dragon Quest 10, and they're like, 10-year anniversary. And I'm like, wow, that means you've only had like one Dragon Quest game come out in the last 10 years, which is Dragon Quest 11. Unless you count the different versions. That's kind of like, dang. What happened? You slowed down big time in the last 10 years. But like I said, they're working on 12. And they did say they were making like some kind of offline version for Dragon Quest 10, though. Offline only. And that might come out everywhere. I don't know. It would only make sense that it would come out everywhere because they already have Dragon Quest X online in Japan. So why would they only lock that to Japan when Dragon Quest X is already online? So I'm guessing that's coming out everywhere. But how is that going to work? I don't know. I'm not really into MMORPGs, so that's that. And so that's why I didn't even pay attention to 10. So for my own experience with Dragon Quest is I beat Dragon Quest 7. I beat... no, I haven't talked about Sonic yet, Juice. Hang on. I'm on Dragon Quest right now. So I beat Dragon Quest 7. I beat Dragon Quest 8. And I'm about to start 11. So that's my experience with Dragon Quest. Really like 7, liked 8, and then 11 looks really good too. Never played 9. I don't know if 9 came here. I don't know. So I haven't really followed the series like that. But I know of it. I know it's a storied franchise. It's been around, obviously, 35 years, which is very cool. So Sengoku Musha card in games says, yeah, that sucks. Japan got always first and hold on exclusivity to Japan. Same goes for Monster Hunter. Yeah, it's unfortunate because, there's probably more fans in Japan, but they started building a fan base, outside of Japan as well. So it sucks that they don't want to expand it at this point. At least when it comes to those games, I'm guessing every game forward will be here as well. What do you say there, Visor? In case I missed it, dude, did you ever think the big dust up about Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West would be Aloy isn't hot enough? The change isn't as drastic as Peter Parker and Spider-Man going from PS4 to PS5. I didn't know that was a thing, so that's new to me. I've seen little memes where they showed her like next to a little kid's face. It's like a 10-year-old boy, and that's kind of been a thing. But I didn't know it was like this big dust up. So that's interesting. I guess we can talk a little bit about that. But no, I did not know that was even the thing. Who cares? Like, she is who she is. I mean, I always kind of made fun. I didn't care about that, the fact that she wasn't hot. I mean, that's so silly. I made jokes about her looking kind of like a Cabbage Patch doll, kind of cheap, not chibi, but kind of Cupid-ish in the face, Cupid doll. Um, but I don't, she doesn't have to be hot. I mean, that's just weird. Um, Nintendo Guy. The only game in the series I played through and beaten is the original on the NES. Also known as Dragon Warrior. Yeah, Dragon Warrior. I have played Dragon Warrior. I completely forgot, but I never beat it. But yeah, Dragon Warrior as well. Maybe I didn't think of it because it's called Dragon Warrior here. Is it just here or everywhere else? I don't know. But yeah, so oh yeah, I almost forgot. So the thing I really wanted to mention about the Dragon Quest anniversary is that, man, they're complete remaking of Dragon Quest 3 in the Octopath engine, basically the HD 2D thing, which looked gorgeous. That engine is perfect for remaking, titles from that era, and not taking away too much from the kind of core feel of the games, and just adding to them with more modern stuff, but also still retaining that kind of original feel and beauty. So definitely going to be playing through Dragon Quest 3 now. That is coming out with that HD 2D look to it. Looks fantastic. Looks gorgeous. So that was a announcement I was really happy about. They said they might do others, I think, depending on how well Dragon Quest 3 remake does. So hopefully it does well, because it looked great. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Dragon Quest. Yeah, pretty good. I'm sure more core fans were probably disappointed. I think I heard that because they wanted certain things I was talking about, like Dragon Quest 10 and whatnot. To me, it's not that as big a deal because I'm not as into Dragon Quest. So, but yeah, I can understand where fans were not exactly overall happy with that. So, Laker Link in the house. What up, Laker Link? But yeah. So, are your Lakers playing today, by the way? Just wondering. Yeah, so, or did they already play? They could have played already. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to Sonic. I'm trying to remember because there was like some cell phone stuff going on. There was the cool collection announced. There was some cell phone game stuff that I don't care about, but those Sonic Runner games aren't that bad. I've played them. I played one. It was fun for a little while. Those things just don't hold me, and people who play cell phone games, more power to you because they just don't hold me. But yeah, Sonic. What to say about Sonic? I mean, it was great that they, like I said, they announced the collection. I feel like there's been a collection. Has it? I guess there was one Well, the thing is, like there's songs in what is it, Sonic 3 especially, that were like made by Michael Jackson or something, and so as far as re-releasing that game, there's been issues. But I guess they got through them because now it's going to be in this collection, which is great, which I will pick up, which is something I'm looking forward to. Yeah. AD got hurt. Oh, great. I know he was gimpy, but now he's like straight up hurt. Is he out? This is becoming the NBA basketball stream. But yeah. Um, so let's say about Sonic. So Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors was a cool announcement. Sonic Colors Ultimate, I think they're calling it. Which is, unless you're adding some stuff to it, don't call it Ultimate. So hopefully there's going to be some stuff in there added to the game. Just call it Remaster, Definitive Edition. Well, even then, you kind of want be some stuff added, but not really, because Definitive just means it runs better. It runs the best it could run. So, played the Sonic Runner 5 years ago on my phone. Yeah, it probably was it that long ago. It was at least 2017. So yeah, I'm not too far off there from you, Sengoku. Visor Grunt. I still don't think the new collection match Sonic Collection and Sonic Gems Collection on GameCube still have those gems. Yeah, like that's another thing that's kind of holding me back a little bit because it's like I do have a Sonic Collection on. I'm thinking of Mega Man on PS2, but I do have Sonic Gems on a GameCube, and it's just like it's cool. They're gonna HD it or whatever. It's not gonna really be HD. It's just gonna be playable on an HD console, so it'll be sharper here and there. But yeah, so do I really care that much? But it's a Sonic collection. It's going to be really hard for me not to buy it. And I'm actually looking forward to Sonic Colors as well, because I did like Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors is like the last 3D Sonic game that I really liked. So I am looking forward to playing that. I think that is a good game that people, if you haven't played Sonic, or if you think Sonic 3D games aren't really that great, that would be one that I think you would like. So you might want to check that out. But I really like it. So what was that noise? Oh, groin. Oh, that's the worst. That is the worst. That is hard to recover from. Yeah. So there was a little chime just now. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Did I get a new? It should show up my thing here if I got like a new member or something. Oh, there we go. Subscriber Aid Ayula just subscribed. Thank you for subscribing, Aid. Did I say your name right? It was hard for me to see on this little screen. It should have popped up. I think I missed it on my main screen. But anyway, thank you for subscribing. Yeah, so clocked it. What's up? Goku, what do you think about Sonic Lost World on Wii U? Sonic Lost World on Wii U, before I go on, had potential. Like, it was almost there for me. That game needed like another 6 months to a year of polish. Because my main gripes with the game is that it was technical things that would take me out of that game. You'd be fighting a boss, and you couldn't tell if you were hurting that boss. Things like that. There was like strange hit detection. There was strange like kind of pacing with the levels. It was almost there. Like I loved the graphics of it. The vibrancy of the visuals were good. But it was just like things like that would take me out of the game. I still like it. It's I hold the adventure games still at the highest. Adventure 1 and 2. As far as 3D goes. So it's Adventure 1 and 2. And then Colors. I did like Sonic Heroes as well. So it would be Adventures 1 and 2, probably Colors, Heroes, and then Sonic Lost World. Because, when you talk about Lost World, it was looking like it was going to be like some kind of competition for Mario Galaxy and whatnot. It was some mechanics that they had been working on for Sonic's for like since the like Saturn came out. There's this got kind of mechanic. I can't think of the name of it, but you know, I still liked it, but it was just some biting little issues that made it overall not my favorite. Let's see, Visor. I never played Sonic 4. Throw in that and the GBA games, and maybe we have a deal. Yeah, Sonic 4 is actually really good too. Um, is there a Sonic? I feel like there's a Sonic game on WiiWare as well that was good, but I can't remember. Um, but yeah, as far as I was thinking, as far as the 3D Sonic though. But yeah, if you're talking about for the collection, that would be cool as well. Um, I don't know why they aren't making that kind of stuff happen. But I don't know. But yeah, so back to Sonic. um, so I mean, those were the things that stuck out the most to me. And then tell me if I'm forgetting something that was kind of bigger at least in the Sonic 30th anniversary stream. I mean, it was cool the music and stuff. That was also cool. They're doing a soundtrack, a symphony soundtrack with a lot of the musicians from Sonic, games and whatnot. So that was cool for sure. Because I've always liked Sonic music. Uh, Going back to like when I really started paying attention to it was probably Sonic 2. I really love Sonic 2's soundtrack, and that's when I started paying attention. Um, so it's cool that they're adding that, and then like obviously it blew open with games like Sonic Adventure and whatnot. But yeah, um, if I'm forgetting something else that was kind of bigger in the Sonic stream, let me know. Uh, but the thing was, we got one more thing to announce, and I'm like, all right, new Sonic game, great. I pretty much figured that out from the beginning, and then they let us know in the new Sonic game that Sonic can run. That's basically all you got. Um, won't you just mention that in passing? Like people were speculating that they might be showing something at E3 for the new Sonic game. Cool. Well, don't put a little nothing trailer together to show people for Sonic. What is it? The next Sonic game, whatever it's going to be. Uh, Sonic Prime. Is that the next game? I can't remember. Which is that's kind of weird. They're using Prime as in Metroid Prime, but why show that little CGI clip that looks nothing better than CGI clips you were showing in um in Sonic 06 or something. Like it would like that did nothing. Great you're announcing a new game, but your track record again as I talked about earlier as of late, especially with 3D Sonic games, has not been very good. Um and your 2D Sonic track record only bounced back because of a fan basically making your recent game. So I don't know. I just thought about I think it was Game Scoop or somebody on IGN. They had a little round table, and the one guy was like, "Sonic has never been good. We're just now realizing it." And I'm like, that was a bit extreme. I think he got chased out of town by Sonic fans for that one. Um, but Sonic has been good, and it's the only reason I even care because I know Sonic has been good. It has been, maybe a couple times it was great. Sonic 2 was great. Sonic 3 was great. Um, but for me, those are the only times it was great. It was good and then really good with Sonic Adventure and then Sonic Adventure 2. I like Sonic Adventure 2 better. It was more streamlined and whatnot. But yeah, like that's I think that was going too far with it's never been good. But like I said, if your track record hasn't been great, just announcing a new 3D game isn't enough. But if you're not going to show it, then you announce it in passing. And yes, by the way, we are working on a new Sonic game that you will see very soon or in the future, obviously. And then that can lead into E3. I just think they shouldn't have showed that little CGI clip. Okay, we know that Sonic runs through forests. Great. That just did nothing for me. Um, and to have it as a last announcement. If you want, again, you want to put it in the middle somewhere, and then be like, yeah, we are working a new Sonic game, and say that while you're, have that be a voiceover while you're showing that clip, maybe, then that would be better than what they did. I don't know. It was just annoying. Where am I? The Kings TJ. Let's hope Sega doesn't add another gimmick. Yeah. Sengoku. Should there be a brand new Sonic animated series? I've watched Sonic X and Sonic Boom. Oh yeah, forgot about that. The animated series announcements are coming. I mean, they're not for me, but I know there are fans that really like the Sonic animated stuff. I haven't really cared for it since I was a kid. Since Jaleel White was doing the voice. So that's just me. But I know there's still fans of the animated stuff. So I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad they're doing that. Let's see. Retro Death, what up? In a house. Laker Link. The music of Sonic has always been amazing. Yes. Retro Death. I mean, just don't add werewolves and Uzis. It ain't that hard, fam. Yeah, we don't need that. I think they've learned. I hope they've learned their lesson from that kind of stuff. But who knows? Juice really wants me to talk about Aloy. He really wants me to talk about Aloy. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Aloy just looks too different in the new game, in my opinion. Doesn't look like her to me. I don't know. I didn't think she looked crazy different. And again, I've played 150-ish hours of Horizon Zero Dawn, so she still looks like Aloy to me. I don't know. She looks different, but didn't bother me. I wasn't looking at it like, oh, she looks weird. The only thing that looked weird was like the lighting, and maybe just might be early footage thing, but like the lighting. I'm getting too far ahead here. I just want to get past Sonic real quick, and I'll get to Horizon very soon. All right, so yeah, that's my take on Sonic. Hopefully they get it. I mean, I'm always hoping that the next 3D Sonic will be good. I'm always there. I'm glad they're remaking a good 3D Sonic game in Sonic Colors. I feel like it's underrated. I feel like a lot of people just didn't play it because they weren't. I don't know. A lot of the Wii players were not core gamers. I mean, that's just a fact. And I think a lot of people just they weren't paying attention. Because I always talk about how people complain about the Wii games. It's shovelware. It's all shovelware. It's because you weren't really paying attention. If you think that. I don't have 120 games of shovelware. And there's a couple in there that are shovelware for sure that I wanted to pick up just for the collection, or I got and I just saw it for really cheap. But there's some really good core games on the Wii, and I think a lot of people just missed out on them because they were kind of following the narrative. Sonic R is the best 3D Sonic. Sonic R? Get out of here, Claptic. Get out. I'm not as harsh on that game as I used to be because I actually learned how to play it. I didn't know how to play it back in the day. So I'm a little bit less harsh on it. But come on, quit playing Sonic R. But yeah, so now let's move on to the game that Juice wants me to talk about. Although he did want me to kind of rag on Sonic a little bit, I can tell. So played Sonic Rush, awesome. Oh yeah, Sonic Rush on 3DS or 2DS, not 2DS, on DS is awesome as well. So that's another Again, the Sonic 2D games, most of them are good, if not great. It's the 3D ones that have the problem. So I don't think people are are leery or worried about the 2D Sonic games. They hold up. The Sonic mechanics make sense and work really well in 2D, just not as much in 3D. They haven't figured out how to make that work. So, but yeah, now we move on to the state of play for Horizon Forbidden West. It's been taking me so long to get that to remember the subtitle Forbidden West. Um, I'm big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a game that kind of creeped up on me. I was annoyed with it at first, and it took a while for me to get into it. But once I got in, I was really locked in. And it's a game that has that kind of a museum effect that some modern games have a lot these days, where the world, it's beautiful and it's there, but you can't really interact with it. The way you would think, like you're hitting puddles or you're jumping in water. It doesn't feel like you think it should feel. It feels more like it's kind of almost a photo in the background. And looking at Forbidden West, there's still some elements of that when she was like when Ayla was going through like grass and high foliage and whatnot. She was still kind of just clipping through stuff, or it was barely even moving as she was going through it. And again, this is a earlier build. I don't know if the final one's going to be better or not. But yeah, like I said, I have 150 or so hours in Horizon. I really got in on it. I'm going through New Game Plus again, and I'm about to go through the DLC in New Game Plus. The DLC is fantastic. The Frozen Wilds, fantastic. One of the best DLCs you can get. And Sony recently gave that game away, right? Am I mistaken? No, they gave it away on PSN. They just gave it away. You can if you have a PlayStation 4, you could have downloaded it for free digitally, and I did that. That way, I don't have to switch that game out disc-wise anymore. So it was very cool. Museum effect, another Mr. T-ism. No doubt. I gotta drop my T-isms. So yeah, museum games where you can't really touch anything. But yeah, so big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn. Like I said, it surprised me. Didn't think I would really be into it. What do you think the Metacritic score for Sonic Colors is? Ask Juice. It's probably like 74, 75. That's my guess. I mean, I don't know for sure, but what is it? Let me know. I'm sure you will. I'm guessing 74, 75, somewhere around there. And I think that's probably unfair, but I get it. If I'm right about that, it's not a fair score, I don't think. But anyway, now he is talking about Horizon. This dude bringing back Sonic T can't win. I know, right? Thank you, Retro, for pointing that out. First he come in here and asked me about Sonic. Then he's like, oh, yeah, start talking that Horizon stuff. And now he wants to ask me about Sonic again. You trying to throw me off, man? You trying to throw off my stream here? But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West looks great. Like, I feel like if you are someone new to Horizon, it might have blown you away, right? It didn't blow me away. I saw some stuff that I liked, but I can't say that I'm blown away by it. With the story that was in the first game, I'm wondering what they're going to do, because they hinted at some stuff. They hinted at the Forbidden West in Horizon. But I'm wondering what they're going to do to make the main villain, the story, make sense and be compelling. That is my only, I don't want to say worry. Excuse me. That's one of the things I'm thinking about when it comes to that game. So Um, Retro, no, clocked it. Oh no, Terminator Juice. He's talking about clocked it or retro. Oh, he said he wasn't watching live. Fail. He asking questions that I'm way past. I had to pause the stream for. So you're 15 minutes back. Boomer, boomer antics over there with Terminator. Uh, Retro Death. Forbidden West has underwater exploration, a Retro Death seal of must have, instant win. Yeah, I was just about to get to that. All right, so that was one of the things. I don't want to say it blew me away either, but I'm very happy that they're adding that to the game. Because that's a way for veterans of Horizon to instantly have something. We have something there, right? So that's the same thing when it comes to Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild, especially now, needs to have underwater stuff going on, which is kind of weird to say in about a Zelda game post Ocarina of Time, because underwater has been a thing in the 3D Zeldas for quite some time. Um, but Breath of the Wild 2 needs to have underwater exploration, or just the ability to swim underwater. But yeah, it looked fantastic and makes me wonder how that's going to run on PS4, right? Like it's because all this stuff, all the footage was on PS5, and clearly they're making a cross-gen. This is a cross-gen game, so they're going to be making a PS4 version as well. Hopefully, it doesn't tank in the frame rate and whatnot, because that's what I'm going to be playing it. So I'm going to initially play it on PS4. This is my future me thinking, and then when I down the line when I eventually get a PS5, I will replay it on PS5, and it'll be $20 or something at that point. So it'll make sense. Hold on a second here. Oh, I gotta get this. Stay tuned. All right, so I'll be doing something real quick. Really? Yeah, I'll accept that. All right. Yeah. So it the underwater stuff looked great. So here's the thing. So they showed this scene. I think they wanted to have major impact. The scene with the kind of woolly mammoth mech. I'll call it a mammoth mech. um, that doesn't have as much impact to me as a person, again, a veteran of Horizon Zero Dawn, who's seen I'm not going to spoil it, the creatures you fight in the frozen wilds, and obviously, this isn't a secret. You're fighting a T-Rex mech. It's like on the cover of the game, I think, or at least it's been in advertising, so it's not a surprise that you fight like a T-Rex mech and other giant mechs in the game that were like major wow factors to me. So the woolly mammoth thing they do it reminded me of what was that movie? Was it 300? Where they had those guys riding the backs of the giant woolly mammoths, and maybe it was Lord of the Rings, or maybe it was both. I don't know. I think it was Lord of the Rings, because I kind of remember Legolas and Gimli battling out for like kill counts, and so I think Legolas like split the side of the harness from one of those big woolly mammoth things, and he took out a bunch at once. And I think Gimli was like, that still only counts for one. So yeah, I think that was Lord of the Rings. Hilarious. But so I think that impacted, maybe would impact other people better than it impacted me. Like, but I was happy to see, because one of the things I did want from Horizon was the ability to climb. It was one of the most annoying things, especially after playing Breath of the Wild. One of the most annoying things is that you do this little stupid jump that you can't even get over the tiniest little things, and it's just really annoying. And they didn't really show that wasn't going to be a thing in this one, but they did at least show like this kind of arrow grappling hook thing you can do, but it's only on specific, again, yellow, yellow marked areas. So still kind of annoyed by that. And they did show climbing, but again, it was on specific types of things you can climb on, specific landscape. So that worries me because that was one of the most annoying things in that game. Again, coming after Breath of the Wild. I wish I had played that game before Breath of the Wild. It did come out before Breath of the Wild, but I held off and played Breath of the Wild first. So all those things were annoying me in that game, and then they started to annoy me in games I was already playing, like The Witcher 3. So I got spoiled. And speaking of Breath of the Wild and Horizon, like there was all to me, there's been this kind of weird similarities going on between these games. There's no way they could have copied it unless they were like sneaking to each other's development studios and getting ideas. But in Horizon Zero Dawn, there is ancient armor, right? So you got ancient armor in Breath of the Wild, but there's this ancient armor you can get in Horizon Zero Dawn that is super effective and very helpful, especially if you go into the Frozen Wilds. Goodness gracious, I don't know how you beat the Frozen Wilds without that ancient armor. You're a better gamer than me, and that's not saying a whole lot. There's gamers that are better than me, but I'm really wondering how you would beat that DLC without the ancient armor, quote unquote ancient armor. But yeah, uh, um, the game. I'm glad it's adding these things, but I wish it would add more. So outside of the ancient armor, now Breath of the Wild, or not Breath of the Wild, but Horizon Forbidden West is taking, quote unquote, taking more things from Zelda. So there's this red kind of foliage stuff that's poisoning the lands, right? And it looks a lot like the corruption in Breath of the Wild, and they call it blight. And is there something that has to do with blight and Zelda and Breath of the Wild? Oh yeah, the blight Ganons, right? So there's certainly a connection there. There's no way that's a coincidence. I don't think. I mean, the red color. They actually, I mean, it actually does something in this game where it doesn't do that in Breath of the Wild, but it can't hurt you, right? In Breath of the Wild, but it's spreading, you know. And Breath of the Wild wasn't really spreading; it was just kind of there, and so it's, you know, it's a nod. It's definitely a nod to Breath of the Wild, and of course the sail. What do you call it? The sail hologram cloth. That is clearly there because of Breath of the Wild, and then obviously, do I have it in front of me? Yes, I do. This game here adopted it and adopted a lot of Breath of the Wild stuff. Just got this and can't start playing this yet because I got to get some stuff off my hard drive first before I can put that in. But yeah, so clearly adopting things from Breath of the Wild, which is good. I just wish the climbing was a major thing it would adopt. So, all right. So did he tell the score yet? Forbidden West has underwater exploration. I read that already. Sengoku. Wish there was a PS Vita version of the Horizon franchise. I don't know how that would work. I think having Uncharted on Vita was kind of a milestone. Was kind of a, you know. I guess they can make a smaller game, obviously. But unfortunately, Sony doesn't care about the Vita anymore. So that you know, and even they barely cared about it back then. So, yeah, I guess that kind of sucks. It would be cool to see like a portable version of Horizon. Sengoku, that rear touchpad easy to hunt down. Easy to hunt down. Missing something. NYC Majestic never played Horizon, but what bothered me about the trailer was how she wouldn't crouch low enough. How the hell did the enemies not see? Yeah, it's one of those. I noticed that too, and I was like, they can see her. They should. I mean, first of all, they're robots, and they have the scan capabilities. Again, if you haven't played the game, you didn't know that, but they can scan. So if they're alarmed, and then they turn yellow. Where they turn yellow, they usually start to scan, and then they can find you. But I mean, different animals, feels weird calling them animals because they're kind of mechs, but they are animals representing animals, dinosaurs and whatnot. Um, but they, I mean, yeah, that was kind of weird. But it's a video game thing, right? It's like, you know, it's video game isms. And Uncharted, it's like, oh, he's in the grass, or any stealth game really. It's like, come on, why can't you see this person, or they're the NPC that they're with running around and brought right in front of you. That happens in Uncharted. It happens in The Last of Us, where it's just like, didn't you just see Ellie run right in front of you? You're not alarmed, but you know, that's just video game stuff. So you gotta kind of let some stuff slide. Um, but yeah, you're LOLing. So I mean, obviously you're joking. It's funny. It's a funny thing. I've recorded some video footage of that happened to me in what was it, Uncharted 4, and it's just like your brother characters that's like sliding all in front of the guys, and they don't say or do anything because they're not supposed to see him because you're hiding. So they don't want to um, they don't want to punish you for what the NPC is doing, so they kind of let it slide. Also, NYC Majestic also saying, also hate the talking out loud so much. It's silly. Yeah, I mean, I will say that. Aloy talks to herself a lot. Aloy a lot. She talks and talks, and I mean all the time. So not just in a sequence where you're in a kind of almost scripted sequence, you're in a area where things are going to happen. Just walking along, she you'll be walking down a path or something, you start to slide, and it's like, oh, and she'll say something like, um, oh, that was a fun ride, or just weird stuff. It's like a weird thing to be saying to yourself on your own. She talks to herself a ton, and you know, it's funny at times. It can be annoying because sometimes I miss stuff that she's saying because I didn't know she was about to say something. Because a lot of times it's really random. So yeah, but yeah, Aloy. That's just an Aloy thing. She talks to herself all the time. It's just maybe she's just because she's always out by herself. Maybe she's just lonely, and she needs to talk to herself to keep herself sane. Sengoku. Oh, I read that already. Um, Retro Death. Nintendo innovates, the others chase. Now Horizon 2 took from Breath of the Wild, and Nintendo will instead reinvent again with Breath of the Wild 2 always ahead. You think it'll reinvent? I don't know. I would be happily surprised. But for me, all Breath of the Wild 2 has to do is bring us back dungeons, uh, bring us cool tools to use in dungeons, specific dungeons, and you can still have us go through dungeons out of order, right? Let us go through dungeons out of order. But maybe you get to a certain point in that dungeon when you're like, oh, I need this device. I don't have a problem with that, having to leave a dungeon because you don't have a certain thing that you need for that dungeon. I think Nintendo may be overthinking themselves, but they feel like, oh, we didn't want to have, Link need a hook shot, because we wanted to be, because if you're gonna have a hook shot, we wanted to be able to go anywhere without needing that hook shot, right? So I think they need to scrap that. I think, yeah, you go to certain places, you need certain things to traverse. You need things to get further in that dungeon. I think that's a cool thing. Well, I have to leave and come back until I find this thing, and maybe you go to get distracted by something else because that's like a Breath of the Wild thing, right? So yes, bring back tools, bring back dungeons, like full-on dungeons, obviously. Um, Underwater traversal, and I think I'd be happy. And obviously some boss diversity again with different dungeons. So that's really all I need for Breath of the Wild 2. It would be nice to have Zelda as a playable character. and they can do it. I mean, did Zelda really needed to be stuck in the castle? Not really. It wasn't like a compelling story element. She could have been scavenging around. She could have been a Sheikah, doing her thing. Uh, it could have been. I think it could have been more compelling had she just been kind of drifting around the world, waiting for Link to wake up. I think that would have been way more compelling. So it is what it is. All right, so Nintendo guy, I've heard rumors that new Sonic game could potentially be an open world game, which I think could be a good fit for Sonic if Sega does it right. I don't know. I want something new to happen, that's for sure. I don't know if Sonic open world would work. Maybe open hub world. Sonic open hub world would be cool. Be a cool mechanic because they tried to do that in Adventure, right? Sonic Adventure. Um, and then, excuse me, then in Sonic 06, let's forget about that. But yeah, I think it could work for a hub world. I don't know about just straight up open world because Sonic is specific. He's fast. He zooms around platforms. He zooms around loop-de-loops and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just not sure how that works. Falcon Black in the hizzy. What's up, Falcon Black? That's basically Sonic Adventure 3. Yeah, I mean, but it works better because, well, that would be Sonic Adventure 3. Yeah, I mean that's why I said Sonic Adventure, the first one. But yeah, I mean, would they call it that? I don't think they would call it Sonic Adventure 3 at this point, but I think fans would lose their minds if they did do that. Um, I guess they would. I guess they could. I guess they could call it Sonic Adventure 3 if that was their plan to kind of go back to that Sonic Adventure style, which was popular. People did like Sonic Adventure. It wasn't all the way there, but it made some correct strides, I think. Peace T. Are you leaving? Or just saying hi back to me? Let's see. Amarma. Cooperative play will be the big element of Breath of the Wild 2. Whether it be implemented in a single or it be implemented in a single or dare I say online multiplayer mode, thus justification of the membership for me. That would be pretty cool because my son loves Breath of the Wild as well. He's waiting for 2, and that'd be cool if we could play through it together. I would love that. Hedgehog in the Wild, Richard. But yeah, like that. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, and people are speculating that Zelda's going to be playable. Like I said, I don't need it. I would really like it because I was just if you guys were here yesterday, I was playing Star Fox Adventures and the original version of it, Dinosaur Planet. And one of the things I was really excited about in that game was being able to play as two different characters and having kind of two stories going on, two parallel stories happening from the male and female protagonists. And I think that was one of the emphasis when that game was first being talked about, Dinosaur Planet back in the day, was that, hey, wouldn't it be cool to play as Zelda in the Zelda games? Well, you're kind of able to do that in our Zelda-like game, Dinosaur Planet. So that was one of the things that, because somebody said in the chat, I can't remember who it was that Rare would come along and make better versions of Nintendo games, and I was like, I wouldn't say better, more technically sound, maybe more visually appealing. Because if you look at Mario 64, then you look at Banjo-Kazooie, like those are the two kind of competing similar games. Banjo-Kazooie looks a whole lot better than Mario 64, but I think mechanically, as far as platforming goes, Mario 64 is better. It's a better platformer. Um, but visually, uh, Banjo Kazooie looks better, and it should. It's 3 years, what, 2 years? Yeah, it came out 2 years after Mario 64 came out. So and Rare was always really good at tapping hardware, so that's made sense for them to be able to do that. And so Dinosaur Planet would be, and I talked about. Hold on, before I get to that, I talked about Diddy Kong Racing. So Diddy Kong Racing was their answer to Mario Kart, and it was better, right? So they had fully polygonal characters, whereas Mario Kart 64, your kart racers were all 2D characters or 2D sprites. The world was 3D, but the sprites were 2D. So visually, uh, um Diddy Kong Racing looked better. And a lot of people felt like it played better. They liked it better than Mario 64. I disagree. I like Mario Kart 64 better. But some people like Diddy Kong Racing better. And so now now the next thing is to tackle the Zelda games. So you have Ocarina of Time come out. Fantastic, phenomenal. Hard to top that game. I don't care who you are. Even if you do come after. And obviously Rare came after that game, and they tried to top it in certain ways. So I think in certain ways they did top it as far as having multiple playable characters. Not multiple, there's only two, but your two main protagonists are playable. Whereas in Zelda, she's around. She's Sheik, she's running around as Sheik in the adult timeline, but you don't get to play as her. She just kind of gives you musical notes and whatnot, kind of hangs around, and she gets captured at the end, right? So that's one thing that Dinosaur Planet did better, if you will, better than Ocarina of Time did. And so that would have been their one up. But overall, the dungeoning, the lore, all that stuff is much better in Ocarina of Time than it is in Dinosaur Planet. I mean, again, they didn't get a chance. It's kind of unfair because they didn't get a chance to actually finish their initial vision of the game. But yeah, Rare to me was like, we'll come back, we'll double back and one up, in some ways, Nintendo's best games, and that was a cool thing to me. It was like a competition. Let's see, Nintendo guy. I'm glad that Sonic 3 and Knuckles is finally getting re-released in the new Sonic Collection. It's one of my favorite games of all time, alongside with Breath of the Wild, Super Mario 64, and Donkey Kong Country 2. Yeah, I'm glad that's happening too. That was one of the highlights for sure, was that game was going to be re-released freely. NYC Majestic, after Breath of the Wild, I imagine open world Metroid where Samus is actually bounty hunting, new bounties, new hunts, post game via DLC like yeah, I mean, I would like to see her actually be a bounty hunter as well, because I think if you want to, you can still have your Metroid isms, but I think if you want to grow the fan base of that game, of that franchise beyond its core fans, doing stuff like that will help. Giving her side quests, where she does actually do some bounties and she goes out and catches specific pirates and whatnot, and there's a boss battle, kind of like Hunters, right? Metroid Prime Hunters, where she basically did that, right? So I think it would work. I think it'd be cool. Open world, I think open world-ish. Like you can travel to different planets freely, but I don't know if it works open world. I don't know if Metroid works open world. Open world-ish, I think will work. But who knows? I could be surprised. So I didn't read all of it. New bounties, new hunts, post game via DLC. I did read it out, like Monster Hunter. Yeah, that would be cool. Nintendo guy. Yes, I do consider Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles to be one entire game as a whole, since the game had to split into two cartridges due to cartridge size and constraints. Yeah, I do too. I think I always think of them together, so I understand that. To me, they're inseparable. So I'm with you on that. Also, please don't speak. You mean Samus? Um, Samus. I mean, do we want Samus to speak? I mean, we've heard her speak before. It's not like she's had bad voiceovers or voice acting. I think her speak should be minimal though. To keep her kind of like that mysterious, kind of brutish bounty hunter character. I think if other characters speak, she should speak, and I think other characters should speak in the game. But I don't know what Nintendo's doing, what they're what direction they're going in with this game. So, yeah, he said yeah, Samus, yeah. Um, I wouldn't want to hear. I mean, she doesn't have to be like Master Chief or anything, but I wouldn't mind hearing her speak here and there. I definitely don't want her doing Aloy stuff, where she's just constantly talking to herself because she's alone a lot more than Aloy, and so if Aloy talks that much, I don't want Samus walking around talking to herself nowhere near as much as that. So I'm cool whatever they do with Metroid Prime, because as far as I'm concerned, it needs to be. It can't just be another Prime game, right? Because that formula is kind of washed. We've had 3 full-on games with that formula, right? And they subsequently subsequently sold less and less per game. Metroid Prime 2 or Metroid Prime sold the best at like 2.7 or 2.8 or something million, and then Prime 2 was like 1.5, a pretty big drop off, and then Prime 3 was somewhere from 1 to 1.5, somewhere in there, million copies. So they're gonna have to do something. They can't just make another Prime game. I mean, that'll satisfy the core fans, but again, if that's all you want to do, Prime or Metroid would never be as big of a franchise as it probably should be. So you're gonna have to do something. I don't know what. I don't even want to speculate because Metroid fans are crazy. Cut my head off if I say something they feel is sacrilegious about changing the gameplay of Metroid. So yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. So now I'm gonna get to the last part of this video, of this stream. Like I said earlier, you might have missed it. I had somebody asking me questions on another video, and it was based on something I had said in the last stream about Nintendo Switch not living up to the potential, and they disagreed. And they asked me, had I done videos about that before? And I was like, yeah, I have a few videos where I go over the things that I feel like Nintendo hasn't really capitalized on when it comes to Switch. Stuff that was potentially cool that they've done really nothing with. And so that made me think, well, maybe I should consolidate that into one video or something where I talk about that stuff, what I feel is lacking, the potential that hasn't been reached when it comes to Switch. So I'm going to do that now. And then I'll probably cut this part off and make it its own video. Maybe I'll do like gameplay footage or something and just use the audio of this. So yeah, what do I feel is missing from Nintendo Switch? Basically, what do I feel like it hasn't lived up to its potential with? Now, I'll say the initial reveal of the Switch, I was super excited for it. Some people weren't, but I was super excited for the Switch. I knew it was going to be a success right away. And then they had the January event that kind of fleshed out some of the ideas more. The January event showing more games and showing the features and showing all kinds of stuff. So one of the things they really showed during the January event, or two of the things I should say, that really made me excited was that Nintendo was going to continue being Nintendo with the Switch, right? Because, people were griping and groaning and moaning and groaning up until this point about, oh, Nintendo needs to stop with the gimmicks and blah, 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 blah. Be like everybody else, basically. Make traditional, regular consoles like everybody else. And I'm like, if they do that, they're dead. Like, because they need something to stand out. You know, Nintendo can't, as far as like mainstream. I mean, they have some mainstream games, right? Some major mainstream games. Mario Kart being one of them. Smash. But beyond that, selling third-party games and whatnot, they have to do something unique that makes me say, "Hey, I want that version of that third-party game as well," because it's offering me something different. And so I think that's what Nintendo needs to keep on. And so when you saw the January event, I saw things that made me happy. One being that they spent time talking about the Joy Cons and what they could do. They showed the little footage of ice cubes in a jar, and how your Joy Cons could replicate that feeling and all that stuff. Now I wish the controller had a speaker on it, the way the Wii controller does, because that really does immerse you more. I feel like that's one thing that's missing. But in the Joy-Con, they're so tiny. Where would you put a speaker in that thing? I've opened them up. There's not any room in that little thing. So maybe that's why they just said no. But yeah, like that made me excited because it's like, okay, Nintendo, even though this is going to be a traditional system, because you're going to have to play handheld mode the same way you're able to play on TV, you can't make it too disjointed. There's going to be a lot of traditional gaming going on, which is fine, but we're still going to have some emphasis on the cool kind of, if you gimmicky, whatever you want to call it, tech of the Nintendo side of things, right? So they showed that. They showed Joy-Cons with the motion controls. The motion controls are here to stay. Gyro specifically is here to stay. You can still do pointy things and whatnot. The was it IR camera, I think they call it, on the Joy-Cons, how cool that was, how that tech worked. But outside of like 1-2 Switch and the Nintendo Labo stuff, they barely used any of that stuff. HD Rumble being a really cool big thing that you never even hear talked about anymore when it comes to the Switch. And it feels like Sony is stealing its thunder with the DualShock 5 and what it can do, what its little gimmicky features are. And so it's weird being in a world where Sony's being lauded for their gimmicks and Nintendo is just ignoring theirs. So really offering some games that flesh out the Joy-Cons and utilize those features more is a fail to me. It's like, okay, it's like in writing. In writing, they got this thing called the promise. So as a writer, you're writing a story, and basically to your audience, you offer them a promise that you will later fulfill, right? Something happens early in the story that will come up later, and you're making a promise that this thing is going to be resolved, and it's a very important thing in writing, the promise. So to me, the January event was the promise, but to this point, Nintendo has not lived up to that promise. They haven't followed through. Outside of, like I said, a couple of gimmicky games, 1-2 Switch and the VR or the Labo stuff, they haven't really done anything with it. And then to me, that's maddening because I was a huge proponent of the Joy-Cons and what they could do. I was really excited for them. I talk about how I played Mario Odyssey. I only played with split Joy-Cons. I played that game through with split Joy-Cons. Same thing for Breath of the Wild. I've only played that game with split Joy-Cons. It's the only way I played that game because I wanted that HD Rumble feel. Because the Joy-Cons is the best way to get that. And so I wanted that stuff. And because I want the console to live up to its promise, the promise it's making, right? And so that was a promise it was making that it didn't live up to. Okay, so now you have the form factor. Obviously, it is a console you can take on the go. So it's living up to part of that promise. But part of the promise, and this wasn't a outright thing that Nintendo said they were going to do, but you have a console that resembles a tablet, right? It looks very much like a tablet. And so there was a lot of, insinuating that it was going to have some tablet-like stuff to it. And to still only, at this point, only have like YouTube and Hulu as your, you know, as your kind of tablet-like application features is pretty sad. Like again, for me, I don't want to. I wouldn't use my Switch that way because the Switch has proven to not be. It's proven itself to not be very durable because there's like overheating and there's cracking. All of our Switches have cracks, which is very annoying. I I replaced the back on mine recently. I'll show you here. I replaced the back because that helped me get rid of some cracking that was happening on the back of one of my, on the old switchback. So I took it off and I replaced it with the red one, and so now I don't have that cracking anymore. But my kids' switches both have cracking around the ventilation, and it's annoying. And so they're not very durable. And that was another thing with the Joy-Cons. It's just like, well, I like the stuff that it does, but now because of the Joy-Con drift, that takes away from the excitement of that as well. I don't even want to use the Joy-Cons anymore. You guys know that I use Split Pad Pro, and I would never play handheld mode with Joy-Cons ever again because it just doesn't feel good for one. But it shakes, it moves, right? It's not very sturdy. So, not living up to that promise. Not living up to the promise of the cartridge, right? So, I was hoping, again, this is just me thinking, okay, we're doing cartridges, so I can get away from the stuff that happens when you buy disc-based games, which is having to install games. But yet we have a lot of games on Switch that you need to download stuff because there's not enough space on the cart. These people don't spring for bigger carts. I don't know if it's still a price thing at this point, but they don't spring for the bigger carts. So, you're still doing disc-based game stuff on the Switch, which I was hoping that it would do away with being a cart-based system. Again, I understand the size situation. I get it. Completely get that. But if you're going to have that issue, then 32 gigs of onboard memory is not enough, right? So there's that. But then you have, so on top of the, those shortcomings, you have mainly the one thing for me that's the most important for everybody, right? Is the games. What does this system bring uniquely software to the table that I just can't get anywhere else, right? And outside a handful of games, not much, because there's a lot of not just Wii U ports, but PS3 360 ports, remasters or collections or whatever from PS3 and 360. Now, if you're a person who doesn't have those consoles or who's never had those consoles, this is the greatest gaming console of all time to you, right? Because you've never played that stuff. And here you have it all in one system in your Nintendo Switch for the first time. And Nintendo's never had these types of games, in this era, in the 3D era, right? So that looks great to you. But to me, it's like, well, I've always had other consoles. I've always had an Xbox. I've always had a PlayStation. So bringing back all these games, that does nothing for me because most of the times I already have those games, and they, thanks to the Series X, they run and look better on, when I go back to them now, on my, those old games run and look better now. So for me, it's not living up to the promise of, okay, for the first time in Nintendo's history not in their history, but for the first time since 1989, the Nintendo, situation has been console and handheld. We have to cater to a console that's popular. We have to cater to a handheld that's popular. Now, the popularity varied by the time you got to the N64. But for Super Nintendo, for NES, you had two very popular consoles that had now a very popular handheld that you as a company also made game for. So Nintendo's internal teams made games for the Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, right? So, and Nintendo has always made, had internal teams working on that handheld. And so during Iwata's era, he was like, well, I'm going to consolidate these two companies, or these two, not studios, but these two entities. I'm going to consolidate them. So no longer is just going to be this handheld division on its own, and then the console division. We're merging them together, right? Because in a way, that's what the Switch does. It merges handheld and console gaming together. So it made sense. And so with that said, I thought, okay, resources are going to be freed up pretty tremendously, immensely. Now that you don't have a popular console to cater to, now you can focus a lot of that extra energy on making more fantastic games for your popular console / handheld, right? So now you can do that. So that should mean more cool ideas, more games coming. Now, if you know anything, Mario Odyssey was being worked on during the Wii U era. Splatoon 2 was being worked on during the Wii U era, right? What am I forgetting? Oh, Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game, right? They just held off until the Switch came out. So major games that came out in 2017 that I was lauding, that I was super excited for the Switch, and I thought the Switch was the greatest console of all time at that point. Those games were being worked on sometimes for the Wii U and being moved over to the Switch, right? So who's working on Switch games? Who's working on straight up Switch games? I thought there'd be somebody, I guess 1-2 Switch. I mean, that is a straight up Switch game, right? But that's a small game. So I'm expecting, what is the game that is really unique to this console, this new console? And like I said, 2017 is when we really had those, right? But we haven't really had those whoa, wow factor games since then. We've had huge successes, obviously, like Animal Crossing. But Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing, you could have done that on Wii U, right? It's not like, oh man, you needed to switch to make Animal Crossing happen, right? What is the games that is just like, oh, wow, this is for this system. It makes it unique, and it makes it, it gives it its identity. These are this console identity games. And the Switch doesn't have nearly as many as I think it should have, but it certainly doesn't have enough, right? For my taste. So my favorite console of all time is the N64. And you're like, oh, the N64 didn't have this, didn't have that, didn't have any RPGs. And you'd be completely right. But it had games that was like, that's N64. You can't do that anywhere else at this point. So much style and identity came from those games, right? Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. You couldn't do that anywhere else. Sony wanted to have that kind of stuff, right? But they didn't. 3D platformers. Who had the best 3D platformers during that era? One of my favorite genres. N64, hands down. Sony tried, and Dreamcast had better hardware, but 3D platformers just weren't that great, in my opinion. They didn't really do a whole lot, but they weren't that definitive on the Dreamcast. So it had that genre locked. First-person shooters. Who had the best first-person shooters? And that was a huge, and still, it's still a huge genre. But that was a new emerging genre with Doom and whatnot back in the day. And to have a console that had better FPSs than what were on PC at the time, phenomenal. So it had Nintendo 64, even though it didn't have this and this and that, it carved out, stuff that it had on lock. RPG, or not RPGs, first-person shooters, 3D platformers on lock, right? Completely on lock. Racing games even were on lock, as far as I'm concerned, on the N64. That's why it had so many. It had tons of racing games. But emerging genres, it had it locked. 3D platformers, first-person shooters were emerging genres, and 64 had those situations locked down, right? So on top of that, uniqueness, the controller. Today people, you hear people rag on it, but people didn't really rag on it back then. It was super cool, super innovative, right? So you had this new analog stick thing, right? And other consoles quickly picked that up. It wasn't like Nintendo invented the analog stick, but they were the first to really utilize it the right way, to really utilize it correctly, to make it it felt great to control characters in 3D. The Rumble Pack, fantastic, right? Fantastic. We still use the Rumble Pack to this day. Force feedback is still a big thing in video. You have if you had a game system, a controller that came out that didn't have force feedback, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like it's completely missing something. And N64 brought that. The expansion pack, right? Like, oh, you're upgrading your hardware, Pete. Like no other console, even to this point, lets you upgrade your hardware from your base console. You're adding 4 megabytes of RAM, right? That's, was unheard of then. You can't do that anymore. And, oh yeah, N64 had some really good PC ports, like StarCraft, just stuff that you couldn't do on any other console, or if you tried to, it looked crap, right? So that's why N64 probably will always be my favorite console of all time. But I will tell you, by December 2017, I was like, yo, this Switch might overtake my favorite console of all time. And so that's why my anticipation, my hopes for it were at a height, because I was expecting it to do that. And 2018, it completely fell off for me. It's like, what is this? You guys are coasting now. And we're not even going to get into the online. I mean, do we even need to talk about that? It's not. So, again, that's what's lacking for the Switch for me. That's keeping it. I still have hope. I mean, obviously, apparently we still have some years left in the Switch. It could turn around, and it could turn, if it doesn't end up being my favorite, it could go some notches up. At this point, it is my second to last favorite Nintendo console. And I know some people think, well, that's craziness. But I can't think of anything else to put it above on my list. GameCube is my last. Oh my God, the GameCube is what? Again, I had other consoles. So the GameCube, yeah, it had great third party, but that doesn't make it unique. And you can say the Game Boy player made it unique, yes. The Wavebird, yes. But software-wise, it didn't really, and I'm talking an even first party, it didn't evolve the way I was hoping. So Mario Sunshine was a disappointment to me. Wind Waker was not a disappointment. It was a disappointment in ways. Like it didn't. It was Ocarina of Time, but with cartoon visuals. Beautiful game, beautiful visuals, but it didn't evolve the gameplay of Zelda yet. Right? It hadn't really done that. So it wasn't like a mind-blowing game in that aspect. And Nintendo will tell you the same thing. I mean, they talked about how those games in particular underperformed for them. They were expecting them to do better. And both of those games were rushed because GameCube wasn't selling and they needed those games out. So that's not just me talking. That's from Nintendo themselves. So that's the only console I can put it above is the GameCube. Now, do I hate the game? I still like the GameCube. I still like the Switch. But I'm talking about on my lists of favorites when it comes to Nintendo consoles, those two at the bottom for me. They just are. Do they have fantastic experiences? Yes. But like I said, those are the things that make it, mind blowing for me. as a console. Now I got Wii U above Super Nintendo, and some people are what? But again, the Wii U is super unique. It was way more unique before the Switch started stealing its games. But that's how I pick favorites. That's how I pick. What are you bringing to the table that hasn't been done that makes your console unique, right? So that's how I go with it. So um, I know it's working. I guess we just haven't in a while. All right, so let's see if I can find where you guys last left off. All right, so we'll get to your chat comments here. I wanted third-person Metroid. So did I too. NYC Majestic, and they were kind of promising that on GameCube. They showed third-person Metroid. It was supposed to be in third person, and I wouldn't mind if Prime went back to that. I don't know. They haven't really have they said anything about the perspective? I don't know. I don't think so. But I wouldn't mind third-person Metroid again, being able to see all of Samus. I don't need first-person Prime anymore. I mean, I don't personally. So I would be fine if they went back to that and tried that again and made it work. But that's just me. Nintendo guy. 2017 was an amazing year for Nintendo. 2019 was when it felt like they were starting to slow down. Actually, 2017 or 2018 when they totally slowed down. 2019 they picked up a little bit. I thought they picked up a little bit, but not nowhere near 2017. But yeah, I mean that's that's my take on it. So I hope people understand better what I mean by when I say Switch hasn't lived up to its ultimate potential. Let's see, NYC. Who was it that said writers are liars? I don't know. That's a good quote. Nintendo guy. The boo catching in Luigi's Mansion 3 is only instance I can think of where the HD Rumble was used for unique. Yeah. I mean, they use it here and there, right? They don't tout it at all anymore. And again, it's used sparingly. Let's see, Nintendo guy. I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't made a Wario game for the Switch, given the tech that is it. Right. I mean, how can we not have a Wario game that utilizes the Joy Cons in cool, unique ways? Right. Like how is that a thing? It's strange. You would think Nintendo would utilize it at this point. Let's see, Nintendo guy. I must be very lucky that I haven't gotten Joy-Con drift. Knock on wood. Lucky you. I've had my Switch since late 2017, and my only pair of Joy-Cons still work. You're lucky. All my kids' Joy-Cons drift. Mine drifted. And so I was able to at least get them fixed. I sent them in to Nintendo and got them fixed for free. But I'm kind of wary on using them a whole lot because of that situation. I know it's a design flaw, and eventually they'll probably drift again. And I've repaired them myself also. So all of my Joy-Cons. Let's see. EJ Johnson, it's about bloody time that Sega finally notices Virtua Fighter. That is true. That is very true. EJ Johnson, this year has been decent so far. Yeah, it's been decent. But again, this is the fourth year. Or now we're in the fifth year, right? We have 4 years in the bag. This is the fifth year. And I can name, tons of games, at least, games that in the history of Nintendo they would have had out by now that they haven't had out for the Switch. Different types of games. So, but it is decent. I can't argue that. NYC Majestic Ogre Battle was dope. Oh, wait, Ogre Battle 64. Was it called 64? I can't remember. I have it, but I don't remember if it was called. It was probably just Ogre. Yeah, I think it was Ogre Battle 64. Yeah, it is great. Um, really good game. I could talk forever about N64. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have. I'm gonna get out of here. I got to make dinner. Still, it won't take long, but gotta go do that. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, let me know now before I bounce out of here. If not, we'll wrap it up. Wrap it up. Happy summer, summertime. Kids are out of school. They're gonna be driving me crazy, I'm sure. So, oh, that's wow. I still have the chat up from the last time. I was like, why is that chat not moving? Okay, let's fix that. All right, that goes there. That goes there, and that goes there. All right. Majestic says, yeah, 64. Yeah, it was called Ogre Battle 64. Very good. Um, yeah, so that's it. That's my take on the Sonic and Dragon Quest Anniversary vids and the games coming forth, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, which I'm excited for. Like I said, I'll be playing that on PS4, and then I'll do my replay of it when I get my PS5. So I can get that 60 frames goodness, right? So I'll be looking forward to that. But the game looks good. I mean, again, for somebody like me who's seen ins and outs of Horizon, it wasn't anything mind blowing. I think one thing I did forget that was cool was humans with armor. That was not a thing in Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a thing in Horizon Forbidden West, where you have humans that are walking around. I mean, they're wearing armor, but this armor is actually affected the same way it's affected on the mechs, the animals and whatnot. So there's going to be certain humans that have armor sets that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to knock off. That's one cool thing. They have these cool arrows that are like vibrating arrows, basically, and you fire them and it lets off. It's kind of like I don't know if you guys remember Attack of the Clones, but when Obi-Wan is in space and he's being chased by Jango Fett and Boba, young Boba, they're letting off these like seismic blasts, which are really cool. And like they blast him, it goes, and it gets really quiet, and it goes, wow. I think that's really cool. So basically, you have these arrows that are similar to that in Horizon Zero Dawn that you hit, and it's like they kind of vibrate or whatever, and it knocks armor off. It knocks off armor. It knocks off guns, which is really cool. It's really cool to be able to knock off a gun and then go over and pick it up and use it. A really powerful gun. That's one of my favorite aspects of that game. So it looks like humans have never had that before. You just fight humans regularly. People talked about the melee in Zero Dawn not being that great, but I liked it. I used the melee a lot in that game. So I'm confused on that, but I'm all for them, tightening up the controls for the melee, making the melee attacks better. But I use melee a lot, and not just on humans, on the dinosaur mechs as well. So, but yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I will have out tomorrow. I will have out my full-on like succinct impressions of Star Fox Adventures versus Dinosaur Planet. That is like my one-off video where I kind of show my wares here and talk about the differences and whatnot in the games that I like. So look forward to that, and I think we're going to be doing the Juices Loose early tomorrow. So look forward to that as well, because everybody is off for the holiday. So yep, that's it for this one. Thank you guys for viewing, listening, and participating. Always appreciate that. And I'll see you fools next time. Trying to find my end here. Peace.